Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, coming to you from University of Management and Technology. I am Ahmad Sohail. You are watching UMT TV and listening to FM 98.2. A very warm welcome to the show, The Power of Books with Mr. Asad Ullah. Sir, a very warm welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you
Sir,
very,
after a very long time,
thank you
sir,
very
we are
much.
again, sir, here.
Yes, we have been away for a while,
Sir, what you have been doing, sir, during that period?
waiting for the opportunity to arise again.
Oh, sir,
And
wonderful reply, sir. Sir, all historians are agreed to the fact that modern science traces its origin back to the Greece. And Greek science flourished for more than a millennium, ending with the collapse of a classical civilization in Christian era, when all cities of Rome and the Greece were utterly destroyed, and the beginning of a dark era take place.
Age of Darkness.
Age of darkness.
Yes.
Sir, what we are doing today, sir? What book we will discuss today, sir?
We are going to discuss a book titled Aladdin's Lamp.
Okay, good, sir.
It's a book by John Freely, who is a professor at the Istanbul University, and he is a renowned Euro-Oriental scholar, and has made a great contribution in filling the gap in the journey of science from the Greeks and the Romans to the present day, to the present era beginning with Newton, and filling this gap with history of how this scientific knowledge took the route. What route did it take? And he shows how it came through the Islamic world. This basis of knowledge was picked up by the Arabs and the Turks, and Baghdad and Constantinople and Alexandria. They became the centers where the ancient Greco-Roman scientific base was modified and updated and upgraded before the Europeans, before it came to Europe.
Sir, do you agree with the fact that many scholars are of the view that Muslim lays the foundation on which the modern science is built?
Well, the contribution of Muslims is commendable, but it is not true that they laid the foundation as such. They made their contribution, but it was not entirely their own. They developed the ideas of the Greeks, and of course created their own also. But this blend was what the latter day European scientists like Copernicus, like Galen, like Galileo, and that they then developed.
The idea is a very big thing. The thing is, who will put the ideas into practice, who will put the perspective into the practice, transformation is required, transformation of ideas are required,
Indeed, ideas are not something rigid, not something, cast in an iron frame. Ideas will develop when the atmosphere is right. Just like bread, if you're baking bread, it will rise if there is the right amount of yeast, of leavening, and right amount of heat and the right oven, and of course then the knowledge of the baker also comes in.
Sir, in this book, Aladdin's Lamp, John Freely tried to make an attempt to answer the question, how did Greek science survive and by what means was it transmitted to Western Europe?
Well, it survived mainly uh, in the Oriental world, and the early scientists who tried to develop a scientific basis, like Galileo, like Copernicus, they were hounded by the Christian church. See, the church had become a very powerful institution, and it had its own army. The only standing army in Europe till very late was the the army of the Pope, and anybody who
So which era it was?
this was from the 11th century onwards.
From 11th century.
So the church became more and more powerful, and if anybody said that the earth is round, this was supposed to be heresy, kufr, and this was punishable by death.
Whosoever will negate the teaching of
Yes.
God, he will subject to death.
Yes, yes. So, very well-known example of this is the Spanish Inquisition, which took place in Spain, where thousands of people were burnt at the stake as heretics. Heretic is what we, in our language, we call kafir. So, this vice of the church, you see, this grip of the church did not allow knowledge to spread
To make scientific discoveries.
the way it had spread in the Islamic world.
Exactly.
In the Islamic world, you see, the knowledge bank of the Greeks and Romans was taken over by the Islamic scholars and developed. But then it was not allowed into the you can say, it's safe to say that it was not allowed to flow into the church-controlled Europe. So whatever, and people like Galileo and Copernicus, so many others, whatever they tried to do, you see, they were persecuted. What to talk of the medieval ages and the early scientific age? There is a glaring example of how knowledge is treated, and that example is of a doctor by the name of Ignaz Philipp, who was Ignaz Philipp Semmelweis, who was a young Hungarian practicing in the Austrian capital.
So this knowledge you are reflecting, all comes from the Aladdin's lamp, or it's you're reading from somewhere else also?
No, this is not just confined to this book. And So, Aeneas Phillips Semmelweis, this was in the late 19th century and early 20th century. He was practicing in Vienna as a young doctor, and he discovered that if the physician, while examining women, pregnant women, expectant women, internally examining them, between examining one and the other, if he would wash his hands with soap, the incidence of childbed fever, which was very common, you see. This was before the antibiotic era. So if all that the surgeon did was wash his hands before an examination, a physical examination, the rate of childbed fever fell remarkably. And he
When epidemics were very common,
yes. So
the treatment was not so advanced.
indeed. So what happened to him? He was hounded, he was persecuted by none other than his professors who had earlier loved him, you see, and promoted him and projected him as the a very promising young medical practitioner who's going to go places. Simply just giving out this, you see, which was based on his experience. And they hounded him out of practice. He lost his job. He was put in a mental asylum where he was shot dead by a god.
Sir,
And now, when Lister discovered the germ theory, you see, he propounded the germ theory, and it was found that he was absolutely correct in what he was professing. And then he became a hero.
Later on.
Yes, and now every year a stamp is issued by the Austrian government and Hungarian government in his name. And you see, all he said was, wash your hands with soap. And I'm sure you would say what I'm saying, that what's the harm?
What's the harm?
उठोए बुतकदे वालों तलाश लाजिम है इधर ही लौट पड़ेंगे अगर खुदा ना मिला. So what is the cost? What is the benefit? And what is the cost? The cost is just a little bit of soap and hot water. And what is the benefit? It can range from 0 to 100.
Even more than that.
So what should the scientific mind say? Try it. Okay, let's try it and see. Rather than just to condemn it outright. See. So this symbolizes very accurately and completely the attitude of the church in Europe.
Sir, human history is replete with the horrible examples of atrocities. Most of the time the religion and the nationalism committed atrocities on the innocent peoples for nothing. Scientific mind always encourage the inquiry to looking deep into the situation, so to see deep looking into finding out the remedies. But those were the times when the church was so powerful that even the scientific discovery and the scientific questions, were not allowed to put on.
Yes, you see, it is a paradox that most of the time, when there is such severity of and you see such grip on the mind, on the thinking mind, it is not because of one's strength. It is because of one's weakness and awareness of the fact that I am weak. And that is why I cannot expose myself to a challenge. See, my views, I'm not willing, I'm afraid to put them out in the open to be questioned.
To be questioned. Sir,
So,
but this kind
so
of
this is a sign of insecurity
insecurity,
rather than security.
but sir, this
So
mindset is still present in today's world.
it is present everywhere in the world, even in the East, more so in the East than in the West. The West has very largely come out of it. But the East, in the East, it is prevalent in different shades of orthodoxy.
So there is a there is a thing that is a part of a discourse, debates, and the dialogues that religion and the science are are against each another. Sir.
Yes, they are opposites,
They are
and
opposite.
they're antagonists.
They do not converge at certain point.
No.
They are having divergence.
Yeah, this is absolutely uh, this is absolutely wrong and a wrong attitude, and one should see. As I said, this is a sign of insecurity. When you're secure in yourself, in your knowledge, and you see you believe in it, then you should not be afraid to lay it out in the open, to be challenged.
So this book also shed a light on how Greek science came to Western Europe in translation from Arabic into Latin after having been preserved and dwelled in the Islamic world.
Yes, this is what it's all about.
Yes, the book is
No,
all about it.
yes, it's not just something in the
And
book.
the
This
main
is
purpose
this
of our discussion is to shed a light on the theme of the book.
exactly.
And we will review it in our upcoming
Subsequent,
sessions
yes,
and subsequent sessions.
yes.
So, what is the most inspiring feature of this book, sir?
The knowledge that it gives you. See, I I did not. I have read. I won't say a lot, but I have read a bit about how the Eastern scientists, philosophers, about them and their contribution, and but this book has revealed much more than I knew already.
Sir,
And
the last question for today's discussion, as we are getting a signal from the producer. Sir, if the Muslims have made tremendous progress in every sphere of life, in all sphere of life, sir, why the Muslims are so apologistic? Why the Muslims are feeling ashamed all their development they made in previous eras?
Because they don't know. They're ignorant. They don't know what contribution. कभी ये नौजवान मुस्लिम तदब्बुर भी किया तूने, वो क्या गर्दूं था तू जिसका है एक टूटा हुआ तारा.
Sir, do you think what should be or what must be the way forward for the Muslims now, as far as this book is in under consideration?
Well, know thyself. Know who you are. What are your origins? What are your contributions? Where can you go from there?
Sir, do you agree with the fact that your history or the human history shaped the future, sir?
Indeed.
This is how the Muslim can learn.
History is not something that stops and then starts. History is a continuum. See, you can't separate. When we say that past, present, future, you can't separate. This moment, which is today, which is right now, this second is past already before I can even utter about it. See, so this present has become the past, and this future has become the present. So similarly, history is also, you see, a continuum. It is not something that you can. It is not something in packets, quanta. It is a flow, constant flow. So you start anywhere. You will go forward and you will go backward. As you go forward, you will realize, you see that, oh, where does this come from? And then,
So human being cannot de-link themselves from the history, what the major thing we can learn from the history is to learn the message
exactly.
and then try to build the new future, after getting a message from the
Indeed.
from history.
I think that it would be a good way to end this session today if I just read through the contents,
Sir, this
so
is
that
very essential,
our
sir.
viewers can know what to expect in these subsequent
Exactly,
sessions.
sir, exactly. This
So,
is exactly what I wanted to ask you.
Indeed. So it begins with there is an introduction, of course, like every other book,
Yes, yes.
and the first chapter is about Ionia, the first physicists. This is the Greeks.
Okay, sir.
Then is classical. Chapter 2 is classical Athens, the school of Hellas. 3, Hellenistic Alexandria, the museum and the library. Number 4, from Athens to Rome, Constantinople, and Jundishapur. 5, Baghdad's House of Wisdom, Greek into Arabic.
Yes, sir.
The Islamic Renaissance. Number 7, Cairo and Damascus. Number 8, Al-Andalus, Moorish Spain. Number 9, from Toledo to Palermo, Arabic into Latin. Number 10, Paris and Oxford 1, reinterpreting Aristotle. Paris 11, Paris and Oxford 2, the emergence of European science. Number 12, from Byzantium to Italy, Greek into Latin. Number 13, the revolution of the heavenly spheres. Number 14, the debate over the two world systems. Number 15, the scientific revolution. Number 16, Samarkand to Istanbul, the long twilight of Islamic science. Number 17, science lost and found. Number 18, Haran, the road to Baghdad.
Very good. And with this note, we would like to bid you a goodbye. That's not all. Keep watching UMT TV, listening to FM 98.